grouping them, and I had one that was reprinting, and I laid the other one just the same, about the same plate, and I laid it on top of it, and I go, oh, that's a picture drawing. So that gave me the idea, rusty and new. And an artist friend told me, why don't you make the wheels go off the page? And that's why I called it Elmer Breakout. So, Litterer that I go by, because there's another Bruce Litterer that lives around this area. And started drawing since I was 7, really. But I just self-taught, pretty much. I had some training in high school. And I did take a semester in art at school, one at Hawkeye Tech, and learned a little bit. But I had art, a great aunt was an art teacher and a cousin was art teachers, so I ran in my family. And my mom was real creative, and she did craft stuff. She never sold stuff. She did it for grandsons and us kids. And our present was one of her craft stuff every Christmas. So So I learned a lot, and turned 60 in 2014, and going, I'm not getting any younger, so I decided to do colored pencils. So I went online for about half a year, learned about it, learned what paper people use, and found the paper I liked. But still, my technique wasn't there. Found out that you could blend it with turpentine. So once I found out I could blend it with turpentine, that's when I decided, oh, this would work. And then that's when I fell really in love with color pencils. And a lot of times I used the chart and I figured out about what colors I want to do. And like this is sort of done, but I don't completely complete it. The reason I don't complete it, because I don't have the whole picture done. Once I have the whole picture, I'll go back and maybe darken this little area, but I look my chart and decide which ones, and then I leave it on here, and I just lightly color. That's the wrong one. So this one, I just start coloring, not pressing very hard. And there's other artists that'll do it. Every artist has their own technique, and it depends on, if I wanted to make it a little rough, I just go like this, and I just keep adding more colors. Then I go back, and then, since it's this color, then I start adding a little. I don't go the whole area. I just like a wiggle, because I'm making it sort of rusty or kind of rough, like. And the paper will sometimes tell you how to. The paper will tell you how it will work. And then I add a little more darker color here. And it basically, it's more of a feeling. And then since this is the side, I'll add a little more darker color. I'm not filling it real dark, but then I'll go and take some turpentine. This is the trick of my art. I tried a brush, but I just like the cube tip. I put a little on there, and then I'll just add this, and this will sort of blend it almost like a watercolor effect. And since I didn't color it, it creates its own feeling. And if I go on the rock, it just blends that, and it almost fills in the little white regular color paper. A lot of times with color pencils, you see a little bit of white all the time. And since I do this, it creates it almost like a watercolor effect. Because you can see the difference from this and just being pencil. This is a little fuller. Because this is, then once that dries, then I go ahead and add a little more detail, maybe fine lines here and there. Because in some sense I'm drawing I could be drawing the drawing 3 times, really, in some sense, in some areas. Because I'm building it up. And that's like when you build a house, you put in layers.
And what is this painting about?
It's called Life's Little Discoveries. And it's 3 kids playing in a flower bed. And each one had, this one find a caterpillar, and he was playing with a Tonka truck. And this little girl had a doll, then she sees a butterfly, and the little boy is playing with there's a turtle right there, and was playing with a bull. So it's called Life's Little Discoveries. This idea is 20 years old, and I did it in pen and ink, but I just never liked the background of that. So.
Yeah, the background is really cool, and the faces as well. I love the details.
My ideas come from taking a lot of photos, and sometimes one night I dreamed or came up with a drawing, just thinking about it one night, and then, oh yeah, that might be a good drawing. But the trick I do, I'll show you quick. I'll bring some tracing paper. I took photographs of each of one of those drawings. Now, move this out of the way quick. And I took photographs of each one of the roosters that I drew and just sketched it out, and then I just, individually, then to get the composition, I just placed it, I just felt like where I like to have it. And I just tape it on there. Then once I'm satisfied with everything, I'll take back and trace over it again with a better tracing paper. Then what the trick I do that I read online, that I just come back, put a little bit of lead pencil on it, and I lay it on my drawing board, and I take it and I just take a color pencil, a red or a blue, and just color. That way I know which line that I already put on the board. And that takes a little bit of work, but that's how I start. Then I just start doing the drawing, and I don't know which. I just look at it and I go, well, I like this one, and I'll start working at it, and then I use the photograph, and I write down. The trick I found out is writing down whatever I'm drawing. I write down the colors of the pencils I use, because I found out by not doing that, if I don't remember what colors I use, I'll change the design can be a little bit different. And if you're trying to match something in the drawing as you did the night before, you may not get it as perfect as before, because sometimes styles were that night you might be better doing it than the next day, but you got the same color pattern. And then I got a chart that I use to draw, and that helps a lot. Just from other artists that says you need a chart just to know what colors that will, like the color wheel. Someone asked me about, are you afraid that somebody could copy you? And I go, not really, because nobody's going to copy you, because you got your own style. And that's, somebody says, another artist says, I ain't going to let people know how I do it. And I go, I'm not afraid to let people know how I do it, because nobody's going to, everybody has their own style. And I taught a couple little classes, kids class and an adult class at an art gallery. But I found out, everybody does it different. So, and people ask me how long it takes, and another artist I read that says, just tell them that it took your whole life. Because in some sense you learn from I was a carpenter, and half of my life being a carpenter, and some of the stuff I learned just being around and landscaping. I learned a lot from watching nature, and it's just a memory, and being a farm kid's a lot of it too. So